Gilgeous-Alexander have their teams on the doorstep of an NBA championship. As for George, a 9-time All-Star, he's stuck with the Philadelphia 76ers team that is nowhere close to competing for an NBA title. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Holla.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
Super. Good. Inglewood. Purple rain falling down on the prince of the coast where the sun shine all year round. Purple haze over landscape, still I hydrate in the lunch line. With the smog and clouds, would start me out. This song's in the key of life, and love is in need of more. Young from Inglewood, barefoot on the cedar floor. If black music is the blood, then my heart has been beating more. Rapidly, happily, I look back on a Afeni Shakur. Her son paved the way, now all eyes on me. Cause I'm young, black, and gifted, Nina, all eyes gon' see. If you swung back when faced with a challenge that's meant to break you and balance scales, you ain't average, now throw your hands on 3. Gon' put them up for black magic.
Black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything
Black chucks, black tucks, everything.
everything
Black hug, black love, everything.
Praise black Jesus, play black Moses, give them flowers while they still give black roses. Everything
Black tie, black ride, everything.
everything
Black pride, black lives, everything. Skin noir, friends noir, here you are, black. Everything you need, better believe you are that.
KBLA Talk 1580. Look, Yep. Speaking of black, the State of Black Women in LA is coming up the 21st of June, hosted by me. You're invited. I hope you'll be there. It's part of our 4th anniversary event, so right around the corner. It's almost Juneteenth. Wow. Seating at all 4 of them, getting tight. If you haven't registered yet at KBLA1580.com, our website, then I urge you to do so. I don't want you to be left out. Maybe you can do it right now. It's our 4th anniversary. We want to celebrate it with you. So if you're planning to be there at any of the 4 events for our 4th anniversary, please do sign up for the specific event at KBLA1580.com. We've got the barbecue on the actual Juneteenth holiday. We want you to bring a food gift card of any amount, either a grocery store chain or a restaurant, and we'll get those to families who are still displaced by those wildfires of Altadena. in the Eaton fire. Go to KBLA 1580 right now, KBLA1580.com. Sign up for whichever events you plan to go to. You can go to as many as you want. You can go to all 4, but definitely don't miss mine. They're all free, but we just want to know you're coming. I'm so excited to have live and in person in the studio the former president of the Guild Law School, publisher and co-founder of the LA Progressive. She was literally a rocket scientist for many years before getting into the science of progressive news garnering and disseminating. And she's also on the board of directors for the ACLU and the editorial board of the blackcommentator.com. Sharon Kyle, welcome.
Hi there, Dominique. It's so nice to be here. I was driving down this morning. It's a pleasure to be on the freeways when there aren't very many people.
Right. Yeah, it's the way home where you'll be, darn it. But thank you so much for coming. And I always love sitting with folks in person, and especially you, because you're one of the smarter people I know.
Oh, you always say that, and it's such a flattering remark. But of course, it is not true. I strive.
It is true. It's absolutely true.
I mean, I am always trying to learn something. Really, literally every day. And I was reminded of that yesterday. My husband, Dick Price, and I founded the LA Progressive, and the LA Progressive is both an online digital publication, and we also have a podcast, and we have a YouTube channel. And yesterday we were interviewing Henry Giroux, who is a professor, and he is so brilliant. But every time we interview him, we have to define some of the words that he uses, and I frequently add to the LA Progressive glossary, which if people read the LA Progressive, there's a menu at the top, and one of the options is a glossary. And the reason that I've included a glossary in the LA Progressive is because it's important to me that when we speak, we understand what we're saying. So
yeah, that we're all on the same page.
Right.
It's true, because people have different definitions of many things, including progressive. There's so many people running around here calling themselves progressives, which I just don't understand. Yeah.
Right. And for a long time, I would use the terms liberal and progressive interchangeably. Early on when I was beginning to just sort of dabble a little bit in politics.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was really looking for, well, what is the distinction between progressive and liberal? and you will find that offered up in the LA Progressive glossary. But the basic difference is that liberals are quite satisfied with the status quo as long as it's kinder and gentler. So by status quo, I mean, if you look at the history of black people in the United States over the past 400, United States in this continent over the past 400 years, there were lots of liberals. And our lives here have not been radically changed in terms of where we rank with the rest of the population. We've been at the bottom from day one, and that's never changed. And that's been quite okay with the liberal populace.
So liberals just want to leave things the way they are, but make them less offensive, make them a little more palatable.
Make them a little more palatable, make it less embarrassing for them to actually be confronted with the contradictions of this so-called democracy.
Mm.
But
whereas a progressive wants to change systems.
We want to change the systems. We want to shape the outcomes that will result in equality for everyone. We want this country to be what it holds itself out to be. And I don't know that we can do that in a capitalist economy. I think that capitalism, taken to its furthest logical conclusion, results in extreme differences like what we see with the billionaire class.
I mean, I have one friend that says the reason for that, and I am starting to lean this way, is that there's this idea of infinite growth, right? It's like this capitalist doctrine that you can always raise more and more and more and more profits. Well, the only way to do that at a certain point is to squeeze people more, because their infinite growth is not realistic.
Absolutely. I don't think you can have infinite growth when everything else is finite.
Right.
You know, we have a finite number of people. We have finite resources, and those resources have to be distributed in a fair and equitable ways. And if you have someone that believes in infinite growth, clearly they believe in just taking their unfair share.
Right.
Taking from
others. Yeah, because it's like saying a lion can grow to be 3,000 pounds. Lions don't grow that big. This is how big it is. Well, if you're going to keep whipping your shareholders for that 3,000 pound lion, you're going to have to take from someone else. And that's always the workers.
Right. And that's really the engine that runs capitalism.
But are you one of these people like Dr. Julianne Malveaux, the labor economist, makes a distinction between different brands of capitalism, what she calls a predatory model, where it is infinite growth and you maximize profits without any regard for the impact on the community or the workers. And then you look at sort of a socially innovative company model where there's part of the bylaws or part of the mission of that corporation is not only infinite profits, there's community considerations, like a Tom's shoes. Every time you buy shoes, a homeless person gets a pair of shoes, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or is it all really the same system?
No, I think that there are gradations of oppression, because what capitalism really is about is exploiting others for the benefit of the few. So you can make that, you can lessen that, but once that ingredient is part of the basic system, ultimately you have people who are taken advantage of, where what they do, the resources that should belong to them end up going to someone else.
But what about if I'm in a labor union? Now I'm getting a fair wage, and the company is investing in, say, the environment, or some companies have those kinds of policies. Doesn't matter?
Not to me. I think that the ideal situation, if we are going to live in these urban environments and we're going to live as contemporary human beings, the best solution is to have worker-owned and operated cooperatives.
Which is socialism, really, right?
Yes, it is.
Now, would you consider, are you talking about a strictly socialist model, or is there room in your vision for a mixed economy where you could have entrepreneurs, like a mom and pop entrepreneur, or even a corporation, as long as there was nobody living in the streets? In other words, there's a floor, and that floor includes housing, healthcare, and education.
I don't think that we will arrive at the vision that I have in my lifetime. So yes, I would support gradual steps that would get us eventually to a place where we really do have socialism and people control the reins of their own lives. But there's so much that needs to be done, even in the minds of the people. And that's really what I observe and what I'm interested in. We look at these draconian decisions that are made by the Trump administration, and we look at these extremes like the Proud Boys and groups like that. Obviously, they are obviously racist, and what they do is obviously harmful to Black people. But I'm really interested, and people give enough attention to that, as they should. I'm interested in the stuff that we don't talk about, the things that I feel contribute as much to those kinds of acts in helping to keep us oppressed as those violent extremes acts. And I'll give you an example. I'm interested in philosophy. So there's a philosopher, and his name is John Harvey. And he talks about analyzing the kinds of mechanisms that are used that create these power relations at work, systems controlling perceptions and information, the kinds of harms inflicted that become norms. The way that we see things being normal, well, and I'll talk about my own personal norms. Coming in, you mentioned that I worked for NASA, and I worked for NASA for 23 years. And I wasn't a rocket scientist, but I worked with rocket scientists. I managed budgets for very large spaceflight projects like the Magellan Project, Mars 98, Genesis. So each of these projects would employ approximately 300 people. And they would last in duration from womb to tomb, from the time that the project went from research and development into actually building a spacecraft, launching it, and then collecting the science. When I began working there were about 10,000 people there. In Altadena, this is where the Jet Propulsion Laboratory is physically situated. Of those 10,000 people, less than 200 of them were Black. These are the kinds of norms. Now, people should question this. We had an EEOC. We had supposedly systems in place that would prevent that from happening. The community itself, at the time that I started working there, was 14% Black. Yet less than, what did I say, 1% of the population that was employed there, they were Black. Why is that? And why were there no questions? And there were no questions because we accepted this as normal, as something that we didn't have the agency to make change. We had no way of changing it. We had already put systems in place that supposedly would counteract that and handle it, and it didn't, so we just let it go. And those are the letting it go, the normalizing. That, in my mind, is a bigger danger than anything else. So today, in 2025, as we look at what this Trump administration is doing, the many ways that he has made very clear that he has no respect for Black people, no regard for Black people, does not value Black people, and yet more than 70 million people vote for him.
Yeah. Well, we're going to explore a little more what we're normalizing at the moment and what we need to stop normalizing, some of the trend lines you're seeing as you process all of these stories for the LA Progressive and write many of them as well. And we're taking your phone calls at 800-920-1580. All that is happening only right here.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews.
Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe.
Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your Black. So, head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text TIGER to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text TIGER to 321-321. That's TIGER to 321-321.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
We're talking with Sharon Kyle of the LA Progressive, among other things. She's got a lot on her plate. So glad to have you here. I actually have a list of things. Well, I'm sort of making it up, but it's a list that's been floating around of things that I'm concerned that we're normalizing. I want to run them by you and see if you agree. But first, we're going to go to Kwamel calling us from Gardena. Good morning, Kwamel.
Yes. Gotta do some progressive talking because as a person who's pursuing a progressive worldview, I'm basically looking at where all these different folks are placing with what they want to try and set off for us. So for Sharon, I'm not sure if you are a heavily black focused person because I've not heard you too often, but to our men and some of our women that tend to kind of push a narrative that seems like a lot of Democrat hurt, or where they're constantly poo-pooing the Democrats, like, oh, Democrats do this, they that, they suck. Why do you keep giving your votes to them? I want to know if you kind of get a vibe that they are truly conservative, or if they're just being any intellectual, or if they thirdly are just saying whatever they feel will get some eyeballs on them for the money on the internet. And I'll take your comments off the air. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I wasn't sure if you're referring to folks who they themselves are actually running for office for a third party, or of just people, black people, speaking in general. But my perspective is they're not a monolith. There are people who have a vested interest in, because they are running third party, they want black people to leave the Democratic Party. There are people that are complainers, and it's justifiably so. They have reasons to complain. But my concern is that while we complain, we also have to have a parallel path where we're creating solutions. We can't just blow everything up and there is nothing for us to fall on. All too often, what happens when you have this void is that somebody gets in the void who is actually more harmful than good. So I believe that we need to be working towards solutions. We can complain and we can march, and all of those things are necessary. It's important that we understand that this system was never set up for us. And we need to take actions to create a system that is set up for everyone, for us and everyone else too. So I don't know if that answers your question. I do believe that, there isn't a monolithic.
I mean, to take it maybe a step further, I feel like every presidential election we're debating for third parties. Are they spoilers? Are they whatever? But in reality, the time to work on a third party is when it's not presidential elections, right now.
The time to work on politics is every single day. And we as a people need to understand what civic engagement really means. It means charting our own course. It means having our own destiny in mind when we are making these decisions. And so we need to be planning, not just planning to vote. While voting is important, we need to understand that democracy means the people shape our society. The people help to shape policy. And we've been bred or socialized to think that we're outside of that.
But, I mean, why can't we have multiple parties? Like in Europe, they have a Labor Party and a this party and a that party, and they all, I mean, we do have a winner-takes-all system, so can we change that? Is proportional representation something that would create chaos and, bring things to a standstill, or would it make us more of a democratic republic?
There are so many options when it comes to determining how we're going to run this system. I've even heard of theories where they're talking about having random selections where every person who reaches a certain age would have an obligation to serve in some way, some political office, and it would be randomly selected. There's all kinds of ideas that float out there, and I think we need to learn how to think outside the box, because a two-party system has not served any of us well, but it's really done a terrible job for Black people.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing a great job for corporations, though.
Absolutely, and
they're very happy with our current system. Yeah, well, okay, so we just have a couple minutes here before news, traffic, and sports, and we'll go, then we'll continue on the other side. Looking at this travel ban, 20 countries restricted to traveling here, 12 with outright bans. I don't know how we're going to do the World Cup or the Olympics or anything else, although it says there's exceptions when it serves the U.S. interests, so maybe people could come in under that. Are we normalizing discrimination? Because most of these are African countries. Are we normalizing these sort of authoritarian limitations on people's movements and their rights?
I was going to say everything Trump does changes what is normalized, and that's true. But it's not just Trump. Trump could not have done any of this alone. First of all, he has a team of people that he works with. The Heritage Foundation helped them out with this Project 2025 that they've worked on for years before this moment. But aside from those people, I always get back to the people that we don't think of. And for lack of a better term, but this is true, this is what I call them. I call them nice white people. Nice white people who think that they're nice, who actually support these policies that the Trump administration is putting out. I think that it's not a coincidence that Trump chose the immigration and deportation of brown people as he prepares to do what he really wants to with Black people. Now, if we look at this current case with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, where supposedly the Trump administration accidentally deported him to El Salvador. Well, you'll notice that when they're dealing with Black and brown people, I remember in Los Angeles when they had the battering ram. And when you're dealing in Black and brown communities, you just use a broad swath approach.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with white communities and looking for wrongdoers, it's a very laser process, very specific, looking for certain people.
We'll keep this conversation going after news, traffic, and sports. Sharon Kyle of the LA Progressive, laprogressive.com. Dominique DiPrima, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The FBI has joined the investigation into a violent attack at Pike's Pub in Fort Wayne, Indiana. A Black man was beaten by white men wearing outlaw motorcycle vests. Sheriff Troy Hirschberger says the FBI's involvement will help build the strongest case possible. Here's what Fort Wayne's Black Mayor Sharon Tucker had to say.
If you do something in the city, we are going to find you, and we are going to hold you accountable.
The DOJ links the outlaws to criminal activity. A Guatemalan man deported to Mexico has returned to the U.S. after a court ordered his return. Identified as OCG, he landed in California Wednesday and contacted his legal team while clearing customs. And Savannah, Georgia's Black Mayor Van Johnson is being praised for helping catch a scammer. Over the weekend, he kept a caller posing as a sheriff's deputy on the line long enough for authorities to trace the call. Investigators say they now have a suspect. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
pan comido, or a piece of cake, no matter how you say it, you save at cheapoair.com/ES. The deals are fully translated in Spanish, so all you've got to do is scroll and save with deals on up to 500 airlines worldwide. cheapoair.com/ES.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough night for both of LA's baseball teams. The Dodgers lost at home to the New York Mets 6-1. If you want to skip work today, the Dodgers wrap up their 7-game homestand with a day game. They play the Mets again, first pitch at 1:10. The Angels lost at Boston 11-9. The Angels are back on Friday night against Seattle to start a 6-game homestand. The NBA Finals jump off tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder are heavy favorites to beat the Indiana Pacers in the best-of-7 finals. OKC is a 9.5-point favorite to win Game 1. It's tough not to look at OKC as the more dominant team. They won 68 games in the regular season and are 12-4 in the playoffs. A word of caution, do not sleep on the Pacers. Early in the season, the Pacers were 10-15 and did not look like a playoff contender. Look where they are today. Tip-off time tonight is 5:30 on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ziprecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or in third-party delivery
Texting
platform.
enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text TIGER to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text TIGER to 321-321. That's TIGER to 321-321.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, so much going on. The Trump now ordering an investigation into the Biden administration, his use of the auto pen and what he's calling up the cover-up of his cognitive decline. He's ordered an investigation. That is not surprising, but Seems like a huge waste of taxpayer money and time. The guy's he's out of here, right? Right.
It keeps us distracted, and the person whose cognitive decline we should be most concerned about right now is Donald Trump's.
Yeah.
So I think he just wants us to look another way.
Mm. Well, yeah, here we go. Here the investigations into Biden begin. It is. I mentioned the travel ban, and some of the articles are saying 19 or 20 countries, but it's 12 that will be barred. It's
not shocking. I mean, he's just out. He's out and proud of his, I would say, blatant racism. And his racism was apparent long ago. Back in, I'm originally from New York, and he and his father had an apartment building in New York where they discriminated and would not accept black tenants, and they had a way of coding each of the people who applied to get an apartment in their building. They coded those applications so that they immediately rejected anyone who was black. But that's just the beginning. I mean, Trump has condemned, supported Confederate symbols. I'm sure people remember when we had the uprise in Charlottesville, and he talked about how both sides were very fine people. He says we have very fine people on both sides, where clearly the white supremacists who actually killed a protester, he called them very fine people. There have been so many indications that he is a racist. And what really makes me sad, we've seen racists, and it really is normal in this country. What makes me sad is that there are black people who still support him.
A lot, yeah. And I've had arguments with folks who say that I can't prove he's a racist, particularly because people are impressed with the pardons. But I want to circle back to what you said about nice white people, because when we started out talking about socialism and the limits of progress and change within the system that we currently have, a predatory capitalist system. You also talked about getting a system that's fair for everyone, and that I would think that as a progressive, we would also have to have a class analysis, right?
Absolutely.
And so that even if we're saying, well, 54% of white women voted for Trump, which makes no sense, but it is historically supported. It happens over and over again, not just with Trump, but with other conservative anti-black candidates. How do you stand on policies and philosophies and analyses that center a class-based kind of justice when the anti-blackness is so rampant, and some of these very people that would benefit from that are buying into this fake Trump populism?
Yeah. So over my time doing really a deep dive and trying to understand why racism, discrimination based on race, continues to persist, I've read lots. And one person who stands out for me is the late Lonnie Guinier, who was Clinton's. He had nominated her to be an Associate Attorney General of the United States, and she wasn't confirmed. I had the pleasure of meeting her once, and it was a wonderful meeting. But she wrote a book called a book that she co-wrote actually with Gerald Torres, The Miner's Canary: Enlisting Race, Resisting Power, Transforming Democracy. And she contends that like canaries that alert miners to poisonous conditions in the atmosphere, issues of race point to underlying problems in society that ultimately affect us all. I do believe that the contradictions that capitalism creates do point to a class hierarchy, but if you ignore race, you will never, ever get rid of the oppressive forces of capitalism. And what Lonnie Guinea and Gerald Torres do, and they do it very well, is they talk about how paying attention to race specifically, if you center your focus on race, it gives you an opportunity to address issues before they impact the whole of society. And they give examples like the foreclosure crisis or failing schools or healthcare. Race blindness and just paying attention solely on class does the opposite. It focuses on individual achievement, and it diverts us from tackling pervasive systemic social, political, and economic inequalities.
Right. So if we ignore race and just do class, we get that problem. If we ignore class and just do race, then we get to just being cheerleaders for black capitalism, right?
That's right. We can't simply have black and brown faces in high places. We have to look at all of the inequities of the system, whether they're race-based or based on some other factor. But using race helps us to enter into that conversation.
But as an activist and hopefully influencer on this microphone, you think, sometimes think, so we're meant to do the heavy lifting of, class struggle in this country for white people that are actually struggling us against their own best interests and against and fail to see it because they're caught up with racial dynamics.
Right. So I struggle. I have struggled with that. I don't feel that it's fair that everything should rest on our shoulders, if that's what you're asking me. But if I want to see the changes that I want to see, if I want my granddaughter to live in a better world, I am willing to take on that and take on the extra duty. Those white people that make decisions that are not in their own best interests, but do so because of their fear that a black person might get something that they feel the black person doesn't deserve, they're ill-informed. They need to learn. They need an education.
Yeah. Well, it's an important conversation because I think that as black people, especially in this intense anti-black era that we're entering, it's easy to just forget about class. But with the rise of these super rich, and it's not like they're suddenly risen. I mean, the super rich have had disproportionate influence in this country for a long time. It's just now we're normalizing, back to your idea about normalize, we're normalizing an oligarchy, an oligarchical structure that says it's okay for just billionaires to run everything.
That's right. And they're calling it the broligarchy.
Right.
Right, because these aren't just billionaires. They're male billionaires. And a few of them are from South Africa.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's just like, oh, my gosh, the handwriting is just on the wall. For let's talk one person in particular, Elon Musk.
Right.
To have the amount of power he has, born and raised in South Africa, the wealth that his family accumulated, they did so on the backs of black South Africans in the mines of South Africa, extracting minerals from that country, developing wealth that now Elon Musk has brought and built upon through this capitalist society, while we, not I, because I would never buy one of those cars, but support him in so many ways and then give him the keys to the kingdom.
I mean, honestly, we all supported him because he got tons of subsidies for his green vehicles back when he was considered to be an environmentalist, and those cars are actually, electric cars.
Yeah. I don't think it's a big stretch to think, we have a minimum wage. I think that we should have a maximum, not just a maximum wage, but maximum wealth. I think that it runs against what is in the best interest of the citizens of this country to have one person be able to come in and make the decisions that he may. Get rid of USAID, get rid of whole swaths of federal workers.
Yeah, including, I think everyone knows by now that the majority from the Department of Education that were laid off are actually black women. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. We're talking with Sharon Kyle. There's we're in Supreme Court season. A whole bunch of stuff is coming down as we speak. We won't have time for a deep analysis, but we can at least mention what's going on, and we'll go deeper as the days go on, as we always do. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Every mother deserves a healthy and joyous pregnancy and birth, and every baby deserves to thrive. That's why the Los Angeles County Abundant Birth Project is here. The Abundant Birth Project is a guaranteed income program that provides cash during pregnancy to pregnant individuals at the highest risk of preterm and low birth rate babies. Although program enrollment has closed, our commitment to Black joy and thriving continues. Through tailored services that foster mental well-being and community-based resources, we provide care and support during pregnancy and after the baby is born to help build brighter futures for our families. Join us in celebrating abundant births in LA County. For more information, please visit abundantbirthproject.org. abundantbirthproject.org. Are you ready to play? Then jump into the LA 84 Foundation's Free Playdate Block Party, a community celebration for all ages, including live music, dancing, LA's pro sports teams, great local food trucks, plus special giveaways for you to take home. Enjoy an exciting, fun-filled day for the entire family. Join us Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2141 West Adams Boulevard. To register, go to la84.org. We'll see you Saturday, June 28th at LA 84 Foundation's Free Playdate Block Party.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at Enel Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other Black influencers in the climate and health fields, as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
Catch Prep is now enrolling for summer credit recovery in fall 2025. As South Los Angeles' top-performing high school in English, math, and college access, Catch Prep is welcoming all 9th through 12th graders to enroll now. Catch Prep offers a small, supportive, and safe learning environment to help all students succeed, so that all students feel valued, respected, and motivated to reach their full potential. For the past 20 years, Catch Prep has helped more students of color gain admission to top-tier universities, with our graduating seniors earning a total of $3 million in scholarships, more than any other school in Los Angeles. We are dedicated to helping all students turn your college dreams into reality. Catch Prep is now enrolling. Visit us online at catchhighschool.com or call 323-293-3917. Spaces limited. Please enroll now for summer credit recovery and fall 2025. Call 323-293-3917 or enroll today at catchhighschool.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Sharon Kyle is my guest. She is the editor, publisher, co-founder of the LA Progressive. Tell us how to sign up for the LA Progressive.
Oh, thank you so much, Dominique. The LA Progressive can be reached at laprogressive.com. And anybody can read for free, but we ask that you donate, that you subscribe, that you become a member and a regular visitor to the site, we also have a YouTube channel and we have a podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find the LA Progressive.
You and your husband together.
Yes, that's right.
Two progressive minds.
Yes, that's right. And we usually interview people at the same time, but sometimes for some issues around race, I generally pick up the mantle, and issues around veterans. My husband is a Vietnam veteran, and so he came back from the war. He was wounded, but he came back fighting against the war and has been on the progressive journey ever since.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to see Dick and Sharon together, just go back in our archives. All of our shows are available wherever you get your pods, and they are on YouTube. And you and your husband came in together, and we did a Black Marriage Monday show. Actually, it was only our first ever ethnically mixed Black Marriage Monday show, and it was very fascinating. It was so fun to see you guys together.
Yeah.
Do you feel like arguing with a Republican right now, or no?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, I don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah, so then you'll have to call another time, sir, when when you can argue with me by yourself.
Yeah, I try to be intellectual, but sometimes the Bronx comes out.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. So the Supreme Court has blocked a lawsuit from Mexico, our neighbor to the south. That lawsuit claimed that it was the U.S. gun makers that were really behind drug cartel violence because they supply all of the guns. That ruling was tossed out, saying that U.S. laws shield gun makers from liability when their firearms are used in crime. That was a $10 billion lawsuit against our major firearm manufacturers. Not surprising, right?
No, it's not surprising. The United States Supreme Court has consistently ruled in favor of deep-pocketed corporations, has consistently supported gun manufacturers, weapon manufacturers, and they just are not in favor of the people.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me, if you're so concerned about fentanyl coming over the border, as our president claims to be, you would think he would jump in there and try to intervene and talk to his cronies over there on the Supreme Court and say, we've got to be able to use innovative means to keep the drug cartels from gaining power.
Yeah, you would think so, but I think that his actions belie his words. He says that he cares about these things, but his actions don't demonstrate that he cares. I mean, before we went to break, I was talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia and how the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court ruled that what was done to him was unconstitutional, and that the Trump administration had to take action to reverse it. And they used a term, and I'm going to try to they didn't say that they said they had to facilitate his return, Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return from El Salvador. They didn't say that he had to effectuate it, and they've used the subtle differences between those words. The Trump administration has used the subtle differences between those words to stand on their action in not bringing Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the United States, because they said we don't have to effectuate, we just have to facilitate, and we cannot dictate to the president of El Salvador how he should run his government.
Which in fact we can, because we paid him $6 million to hold prisoners. And so if Trump said bring the guy back, he would immediately do it.
Yeah, but their actions show, what they're really about.
So in effect, they're defying the Supreme Court.
They are absolutely
how, speaking of normalizing things, I've never heard of that before.
I've never heard of it before either. There was Andrew Jackson, who he was the one who ordered the Trail of Tears. The Supreme Court back then found that action was unconstitutional, and he says, well, they may, and I'm paraphrasing, they may think it's unconstitutional, but let's see them enforce their decision, because the Supreme Court really doesn't have a way to enforce their decisions. And speaking of that, one big concern of mine is that the president wants to enact the Insurrection Act, which would give the President of the United States the ability to deploy military and National Guard troops within the United States to suppress disorder, civil disorder, insurrection, rebellion. Now, what he might call insurrection or rebellion, we might call a peaceful march. But he will then have the ability to deploy military troops. And that is very scary. You know, George H.W. Bush did that during the 1992 civil rights unrest in Los Angeles. But no one was shot. And that's thanks to Colin Powell. There's a whole story about how Colin Powell had to sit down with George H.W. Bush and tell him, you will not go to Los Angeles and kill black people. But I doubt that Donald Trump would ever do such a thing.
Yeah, who would sit down with Donald Trump and tell him that? Right. I mean, who in that administration has the gravitas, the experience, or the blackness of a Colin Powell? It's also, the Supreme Court has issued a unanimous ruling, which is confusing. The opinion written by Ketanji Brown Jackson, of course, you haven't had a chance to read it, nor have I. But it says that basically this woman who was sued because her gay boss wouldn't promote her, she claims because she is heterosexual. And they're saying it makes it a lot easier to prove reverse discrimination. This seems like a real problematic ruling, and I guess we have to find out why Ketanji Brown Jackson took this position. She's talking about whether people who are in the majority should be held to a higher standard of proof than members of protected classes. And it appears the court has said no.
Yeah, I can't even comment on that. I can't wait to read Ketanji Brown Jackson's decision.
Yeah, but it's Supreme Court season, so we're going to be getting a bunch of these rulings, and I'm holding my breath, I must say.
I know. The only bright spot I can see is that Amy Coney Barrett is turning out to be a lot less conservative, and maybe she's a swing justice. So maybe something good will come out of that. I see her aligning herself more with the other women.
Yeah, well, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
We got 60 seconds here, Sharon Kyle. What do you want to leave us with? And of course, laprogressive.com. Go sign up, subscribe, be a member.
Yeah. You know, when Dick and I got married more than 20 years ago, I started keeping a list of things, trying to notice things that I wanted to have a successful marriage. And for your people can't see, or maybe they can, some people can see me. My husband is white. And people are often surprised when they know my politics and my pro-black position on so many things. They're surprised that I married a white man. But I love my husband. I was in love with him, and I decided to marry him. But early on, I could see that we had many differences of opinion that was centered on race. And that's when I started talking about nice white people. One of the things my husband and I, we got into an argument about how many years black people have been oppressed in this country. And I started doing research, and I maintained with him back then, more than 20 years ago, that we're still in the same position, and I mean hierarchically. We're still in the same position.
The bottom.
And we as a people need to construct some kind of scaffolding or some kind of ladder or some kind of system that puts us all in the same place. So I just would like to close with that.
So well said. Sharon Kyle, thank you for coming by. It's great to see you, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you so much, Dominique, and thank you for doing what you do.
We've got news, traffic, and sports and more on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The FBI has joined the investigation into a violent attack at Pike's Pub in Fort Wayne, Indiana. A black man was beaten by white men wearing outlaw motorcycle vests. Sheriff Troy Hirschberger says the FBI's involvement will help build the strongest case possible. Here's what Fort Wayne's Black Mayor Sharon Tucker had to say.
If you do something in the city, we are going to find you, and we are going to hold you accountable.
The DOJ links the outlaws to criminal activity. A Guatemalan man deported to Mexico. Mayor Van Johnson is being praised for helping catch a scammer. Over the weekend, he kept a caller posing as a sheriff's deputy on the line long enough for authorities